This is just a short video about a vintage watch object which I acquired at an eBay auction, and it's a movement here which I would like to present, and I will provide much more detailed pictures of this. Now this is from a wristwatch circa mid-1920s to early to mid-1930s, and it is a very interesting object, and I'd like to provide some information about this and discuss some of the information I found in my research. So I hope you find it informative. So this movement, which I have found, is very interesting. This is an Art Deco movement from approximately 1923 to 1932, and we do see some very interesting features on the movement. Now this is signed A. Montenden, and we see this Manfred and Swiss, and this is a lady's watch, certainly very small in size, and this is in what appears to be almost a baguette movement. This is not quite baguette, but with 15 jewels as marked on the movement. Now, this Montenden, now I have done a video about him previously. This is Alphonse Montenden Bandelier, AMB, and Bandelier is the allied name, and he was signing his watches Swiss and Switzerland. This is towards the end of his fabrication in La Chaux-de-Fonds, and what is interesting about this piece is this so-called Manfred on there, and what to make of this. Now, after doing some research, I did find out that there was a patent that was filed by a Frederick Kaufman of New York, and this was in October of 1923. And this Manfred, now this is a trade name, and this Frederick Kaufman had a business in the state of New York at number 80 Maiden Lane in New York. This was in the heart of the business district. So this trade name is for products related to Class 27 horological instruments, etc., watches and parts thereof. So this was a specially made movement for this Frederick Kaufman, or at least using the trademark, the Kaufman trademark at any rate. But now we do find that a Frederick Kaufman had been traveling to Europe. We find several articles from the 1920s, and in particular we find one in Chicago Tribune from 1921. After traveling in the Italian Lake District, Mr. Fred Kaufman of New York has arrived in Paris from Como, that's in northern Italy, and is at the Hotel Continental. Now, this is fascinating because this is very possibly the Frederick Kaufman who has the owner of this trademark, and we find him in the northern part of Italy and also in Paris. Now, it's very plausible that he may have transited through Switzerland, which is in the middle of both of these places, and this probably would have been related to business trips, and he probably was vacationing at the same time. This would not have been uncommon. But it's interesting that also in a 1929 article we find him, and this is in the Paris Times, arrivals at the Hotel Royal Haussmann, Paris, including blah blah blah, etc. And we also find a Mr. Frederick Kaufman of New York. So once again, this does appear that this is related to this individual, and this is it was very likely that he was sourcing products or businesses with whom to do his business. Now, he had a watch business in New York, so it is very fascinating to find such information that this trademark was applied to the movement, And this movement must most likely destined for the U.S., the American market, as we find many of these watches were cased in American housing or watch cases, wrist watches, etc. So, but this is just a little bit of information on this curious object, which is the only movement which I found by Allemand Danden with this Manfred trademark. And as this trademark was placed in 1923, it has to have been after that, but the business of Alphonse Montandon Bandelier did, after his death in 1929, the business was taken over by his son Leopold, and it was run until approximately 1932 by the son, until it was eventually liquidated. We find that the liquidation began in 1931, but was concluded by 1932. So this object certainly dates by that time. And in the Voin almanacs of the 1920s and 1930s, this very period, we see watches on the very cover of the almanacs, watches that are shaped with this very design. This was a very standard design for this Art Deco period. But this gives us a firm grasp on the dating of this object, which is very helpful. So this is just a short note for the record, and I hope you enjoyed this informative video. Thank you.